Suns fans, you know what time it is in the PHX.
Empire of the Suns.
Phoenix Suns.
Empire of the Suns.
The Empire of the Suns podcast is brought to you by Sonic. Drive to your nearest Sonic location and don't forget to order your half-price drink or slush anytime in the Sonic app.
Hello there, and welcome to the Empire of the Suns podcast. My name is Kellen Olson, joined as always by Kevin Zimmerman. Kevin, we get to talk about basketball.
It's been a minute. Oh, the Phoenix Suns, winners of, is it 4 straight? It is 4 straight. Tell me about it. Tell me about how it's like my tweet after the game last night, after they beat the Milwaukee Bucks with Devin Booker's game winner, is basically like, it's fun to watch again. It's not painful to watch, I guess, at the very least. Like, even if they lost that game, I would have been like, that was some good basketball. I'm okay with whatever the result may be. Giannis is really good. KD is really good. Book's really good.
Yeah, it was the most high-level basketball game I've watched this year by an extremely large margin. It's been like louder there, I think, this year. Like the Clippers game, like the whole crowd was, at least on our side of the floor, they were on their feet for like the last 4 minutes of the game. But it was just like Durant's go-ahead or game time. I can't remember the one where he like bowled into Kuzma, lowered his shoulder and got the three. There was a possession like a minute earlier where like Giannis was on KD and then Book came and got the ball and Giannis just switched on to Book and locked him up too. Like it was crazy high level basketball. But yeah, it's been really fun to do old man on the lawn for a second. I thought after like what we had watched over the last 2 years that everyone would just kind of be very excited about the present and just appreciative of like the basketball that we were watching and just really enjoying it. So just to like address this off rip, we're not going to be sitting here and bitching about how like Ryan Dunn didn't play for a month or whatever, or Oso Ighodaro, or talking about like how they need to like waive and stretch Bradley Beal or trade Bradley Beal or like sit him for the rest of the year. They're just not going to do that on this episode. That's not like because we're trying to be like positive or whatever. It's just those are, in my mind, like we've talked about the Dunn and Ighodaro stuff enough. We will talk about the Beal stuff in the future, and he's out right now. He's still out right now. Guess what, Kevin? He was out earlier in the year, and they were losing games. This has far more to do with the guys that are playing than the guys that are not playing. Now, to sit here and act like Beal not playing is playing zero factor, I'm not going to say that. But to act like he's team cancer scapegoat number 1 all of a sudden right now, it's driving me a little crazy. So I had to get that out of the way. I'll just briefly say that again. I believe it is part of the factor, but this has far more to do with the guys that were playing, and it should be far more about celebrating how Ryan Dunn, Oso Ighodaro, Cody Martin, and Colin Gillespie got everyone on this team to like love basketball again, to like be romantic about it, to do a money ball. How can you not be romantic about baseball? Because it was hard to see it was hard to see at times like their passion for the whole collective game at times this year. I got to be honest. Like it was that bleak for me. So to see the way that they are playing for each other again has just been really refreshing. Look, like I would have felt my feelings on last night would not have changed an ounce if they would have lost. Like it wouldn't have. If Lopez hits both free throws, Booker misses a shot, or Durant misses a shot, and they lose, like I'm good on it. I watched back most of the game earlier today. Their defense was a like 9-8 out of 10 in terms of effort and intensity, but in terms of like connectivity and like precision, it was like a 6. Like it wasn't that great, but they were busting their ass, and it was just really great to see. And like the next thing for me to say to like transition the conversation is obviously like, can they build on it? How sustainable is it? Like, I feel like we're past those conversations. I feel like those conversations just don't really matter right now. We're in late March. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think the crazy part about this is, even look, it's only 4 wins in a row. After the first one of those, it's like, okay, that was great. Can they do it again? And we're kind of almost past the point of like, are bad Suns going to appear again? I think I mean, even in last night's game, there were bad Suns elements that showed up, turnovers for no reason, just brain farts, that kind of thing. But they get over it. Maybe it is good enough to win. Maybe it won't be, but they do seem like a new, refreshed team. And I think listening to like Osa Ighodaro was talking in multiple interviews, I think over the past week about what is it, energy generating behaviors that Marquette basketball taught him. Like they would track your daps, your handshakes, your dunks, your assists that just like give your team energy. And like that sounds cliche, but I think he and Gillespie and Martin and Dunn are all very aware. Like, and to be fair to KD and Book, like their job is to do what they do. And some people are like, no, you've got to be the starting NFL quarterback who drags everyone with you. And scorers in the NBA can only do so much, to be fair to them. Like their role, they know what they're good at. You can't drag people by scoring. Like what Ryan Dunn does, what Oso Ighodaro does is more energy generating just because it's the hustle stuff. It's the being everywhere in defense, crashing the glass. Like I understand why they're more impactful than KD and Book in that regard and why they've changed that kind of feel for this team. And I think that's not going to go away as long as, they stay in the rotation to some degree. I just think that it'll be interesting in the next couple weeks to see if any teams catch on and suddenly make, Ryan Dunn limited or super limited, like play him off the court like Josh Okogie in the playoffs if he can't shoot. By the way, he did really well last night. Or Ighodaro with the same thing where they catch on to some of his limitations and like just kill him on the glass or whatever. But until you figure those things out, other teams figure those things out, I think this team is in a good spot to be competitive. Whether that's enough to get that final play-in spot with the Mavs and their situation and AD coming back, I don't know, but we'll see.
Yeah, they've located a competitive drive at least. So like return to my like original point. Like I'm already thinking of how this can be taken out of context because that's how this entire year has been for me in analyzing this team, unfortunately. But you look at just how hard everyone was playing last night. Like Book especially was just like running around like a madman, and your natural response is like, where has this been all year? And it's like, whatever. Like the fact is that it's here now, and the changes made now have led to that spark that was not there. The same goes for Durant. The same goes for even like Royce and Tyus and even Richards to a certain extent. You look at like how he's been really like playing at a different level over the last couple of games with his energy, at least. Like I think that they were asking a lot out of him last night with the amount of switching that they were doing, and he was really giving it his all to try and make it work. So like that level of competitiveness is just what really has stood out for me over the last couple of games, because again, like they could have easily lost that game. And even if they would have lost that game, I would have felt the exact same way. And so now the challenges become like when bodies come back. Grayson's back last night. He plays 11 to 12 minutes. They still find a way to sort of get everyone their run, and everyone being those four guys mainly, because like those four guys should continue to play. And like the thing is, like I haven't seen, for like Gillespie in particular, like I haven't seen like much from him outside of just like the energy and the hustle, but like that's just what the team needs right now. So he should continue to play. Yeah, the 9-10 seed stuff is interesting. We have to mention the 9 seed now because the Kings have lost 7 of their last 9. I believe they're playing in OKC or on the second game of a back-to-back against OKC tonight. We're recording this on Tuesday afternoon, so that should be another loss for them. And if they lose, they would drop to 37 losses, which would put them level with Dallas and with Phoenix. San Antonio is not quite out of it just yet. They have continued to win games over the last couple to hang around. And then Portland as well recently lost, I believe, to Boston a few days ago, but before that had won 4 straight. So teams are going in the different directions than we expected. Like I expected this to be somewhat of a mid-off, but we'll see. Like we were like, does 4 wins get you in? Does like 34 wins get you in? 35, 36? We'll see. And again, it's been a week we'll see. But I'm with you in that it feels like they've seen the Milwaukee game was big for me because you look at the first quarter and how Giannis was just breaking them down possession after possession and getting great shot after great shot. I was just really interested to see how they would respond because they were not the aggressors for the first time in 4 games. Like Milwaukee threw the better first punch, and they responded really well and just hung in the game super well. And I think that's something, if we want to talk about like building off of it, what I can say is what they can build off of in these last 2 weeks is if they win enough games through the way they're playing, they can figure out a way to win like close games like that. Now, again, the possession, especially where I think it was right before the KD 3, where Giannis gets Tyus Jones switched onto him, and Tyus is behind Giannis as he's rolling to the rim, and all Ryan Rollins has to do is throw it 30 feet within the rim, and Giannis is going to catch it and dunk it. The other part of it is Gary Trent Jr. gets the pass, and if he just throws it anywhere near the rim in a shot attempt, Giannis is getting the rebound and scoring because Tyus is trying to box him out. So again, like there are little things there where game to game, we're going to watch like those specific areas. At least I'm going to, when we're evaluating like, okay, is this a team that can win a playing game? Can they win 2 playing games? Can they actually compete in a 1-8 matchup with OKC? Like those are the things that we'll start to watch for if enough wins are coming. And those are the types of things you have to look at. So that's, to be clear, again, in like the fascination, and I'm sure the majority of our listeners want to hear us talk about how like they shouldn't trade Kevin Durant anymore and they got to like bring it back next year. There are steps, at least I want to see, and I think you're with me here. Like those things I just mentioned are like the baby steps first before we get there in that conversation. And guess what? It's 3 weeks away.
To go back to the play that you mentioned where Tyus was switched on to Giannis, I don't even remember what happened at the end of the play instead.
Ryan Rollins had it on the left wing, or at the top of the key, and then like looked to pass, and Ryan was like a good 5 feet away from him. Like he could have just lobbed it and it would have found there. Swung it to Trent on the right wing, and then he drove and his shot got blocked. It didn't even get to the basket. If the ball would have just landed on the rim or the backboard or anything, Giannis grabs it and scores.
I was not paying well attention because I saw the switch and like my brain was just like tunnel visioned on that. So I apparently don't even remember how it ended, and then it went the other way. And I was just like, oh, they're cooked. And then it's like, why didn't, but that's a good way to frame it. Like those types of plays are how this team can actually have the next level. Like I think how this team operates at the end of games with Book and KD, like pretty easy analysis on my part, saying going back even to the Denver series when KD was new with Book, like they can play off each other pretty darn well. And in the playoffs, that type of basketball will work. You know, you can't do that all game though. And I think that's the thing with this team is like, can you get to that point against whether it's the Sacramento Kings and Mavericks or the Lakers, the Cavs, the Celtics, where like I think the Suns can beat any of those good teams late in games like that because they can trade buckets and they can lock down when they're really locked in. It's just like, are you going to be even there to do that? And that's the biggest challenge this team has had the last 2 seasons is like being that competitive team to get to Book KD time. So yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating to watch. You know, I want to ask you real quick because you mentioned it like maybe 3 podcasts ago about Ryan Dunn. Again, not about him leaving the lineup, but like his shot is coming back now that he's gaining confidence, doing the defensive stuff, getting playing time. Like, I just think I don't know if he was hurt or something, but it's just funny how more playing time means you're actually going to shoot better and have more confidence with the 3. Because, like, even maybe a week or 2 ago, it was not looking good as far as his shooting.
He's hurt right now. Something's wrong with his like right thumb. Like he's got a wrap on his thumb that he was like it was bothering him. I think in the last game, like he got there was like a pass deflected or something sort of to that degree. But yeah, I mean he was 2 of 4. Against Milwaukee, then 2 of 5 against Cleveland, 2 of 4 against Chicago. And then it was that range of games where he was really on not way too high a volume, but at least like too high a volume where he attempted 24 threes over 3 games and he only made 7. That was just when teams were leaving him open and he had to keep shooting. But yeah, it doesn't even go into the shot for me. It's just like, can he be? I wrote about that like 6 weeks ago when we talked about him and Richards needing to play more and the Suns prioritizing development over whatever the hell was going on. And he's just a legitimate offensive player now. And what I mean by that is not that he's like this like sleeper agent that's going to turn into Kawhi. I mean that he didn't have any offensive characteristics to his game coming out of college that we saw on that team outside of I can screen and finish a play. Like that's all we saw really. Like the floater was there occasionally. The passing was there occasionally, but we've seen it consistently enough where it's like, okay, you can be a reliable second side guy as long as the shot goes in enough. And the number, I think it's like 31% for the year. And it's just not a good number to look at because he's been too all over the place with his role. And especially with how like the preseason went and like all that kind of stuff. It's just so all over the place for him. But yeah, and that stuff's going to figure it out. And I think honestly, like defensively, I don't want to say he's regressed over the last month, but he's certainly hitting that rookie wall of like the limitations of like how good like a rookie defender can be with all the natural talent that he has. He's still like picking up on stuff that you can see. But yeah, just to be able to like switch in the second half and go like Nick on Giannis hasn't really worked. We shouldn't put Kevin on Giannis. Let's put Ryan on him. It's like, what? And he did as well as anyone could as a rookie taking on that assignment.
Yeah.
And then Oso has been really the key for them over the last week because they need to figure out some way to play defense where they're not horrific. And that way is to challenge everyone to switch. And it seems like it's almost like when you commit to switching this much with how they were playing before and how many mistakes they were making and how lazy they were off the ball. It's like, okay, go ahead and like not call out a switch or go ahead and like just like fall asleep and not switch and see what happens. Like it's almost turned into that kind of situation. Everyone's just doing it. And Oso has been up for the task. And I mentioned this on the radio. Like kudos to Nick Richards, who I'm sure like hasn't done much switching in his career, like with how a traditional 5 that he was, but they were switching everything for a large portion of that game, even when he was on the floor. It wasn't just when Oso was out there. But yeah, and then Oso obviously like the pocket stuff we talked about at length already. Everyone has seen that kind of stuff. But yeah, those two have really like unlocked the style of play that they need. And the thing that I'm already curious to watch next year will be a much better like prism, like evaluation bubble for them as like players, because they've impacted their season so greatly this year that it's actually been kind of difficult to evaluate how good they're going to be. You know what I mean? Like I just can't evaluate how they're going to pan out because they've had such a tremendous impact with what they do, because it's been a 10 out of 10 match for what the team specifically needs.
Yeah, and I think the Oso part, I went back before the Milwaukee game. His net rating was like 20 point something over the last 6 games that he was reinserted back into the rotation. And honestly, to me, it's switchability. That simplifies things too on defense, but also you posted a thing like just his rotations, like he knows where to be. And that's like something Nick Richards has probably not endeared himself with the coaching staff. Sometimes he just is out of place and that kind of thing. But to his credit, like he served a purpose against the Bucks because they're a big team, just to get a body on Giannis and Lopez. And then you have Oso off the bench. Like I think that was actually well handled by Bud. Even if Nick Richards had some silly, like trying too hard to move the ball, like Oso moments. But yeah, I mean, Iguodaro, I think the big thing with him and Dunn is the trust that KD and Book have in them. Like KD and Book, like they stop passing to Nick Richards when he's like making bad decisions, but Oso, like Book literally will just pass to him sometimes before there's any real action, just to change the defense. And he's like almost test casing of like, where's Oso going to throw it? I know he'll make a good decision. I'm just going to get rid of it out of my hands and let him do his thing. And that's, to me, like when you look at the passing numbers, just tracking wise, those guys are passing to Oso a lot because they know he's going to do good things with it. And it necessarily, I don't even know if it's sometimes they see something that's on the second pass is going to happen. They just let him do it. So to me, that says a lot about the cohesion of trust between the stars and the guys they're playing with.
Yeah, and they deserve credit for, again, what I said at the start, which is like everyone stepping up, because there's revisionist history happening right now. Like you look back at how we were talking about the team at the start of the year, were we looking at Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal, and Tyus Jones and being like, well, they're not really what the team needs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now we're like, well, they're not really what the like Brad, obviously, like square peg round hole. He's trying his best. The team has tried their best to find roles for him. He keeps getting hurt, so it hasn't mattered anyway. But yeah, we weren't really necessarily looking at, like, we were looking at center and we were like, okay, what's going to happen there? But in terms of like supplementary players to play off of Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal and Devin Booker, like those three, and like the next couple of names after that, we felt pretty good about it. And it's like, you don't look at Grayson Allen and Royce O'Neal and think like, oh, those aren't high effort, great, like fill in the gaps glue guys that try hard, like don't try hard.
Yeah.
Like that's what they've done in the league. So for whatever reason, the my other three favorite words, the last 2 years, their energy did not lift the team, whereas these guys' energy has lifted.
I want to point out one more stat there on that note. Oso's played I think he's over 800 minutes now after the Milwaukee game. Like, that's a large sample size. It's more than Nick Richards. It's more than Nurk. Plumlee's at like 1,200 something for centers. So, like, if you have 800 minutes of evidence and you look at the net ratings of the season of guys who have played a lot, Oso's tops. And we, like, for me, I guess maybe other people have like, yeah, he has played a lot, but for me, like, it's been in and out of the rotation, not super consistent roles. So like when I look at that, I'm surprised that like this isn't a small sample size thing for him. There's a lot of evidence to say he's helpful for the team's success.
So I would say, to close the Sun segment of our discussion here as we fade into Cats talk, next week's episode will be a big one where it's like, okay, this is very great 4-game streak. They've stumbled onto something that they can easily maintain the rest of the year, just try hard. And it seems like good things are happening. Try your hardest, I should say, excuse me, like the maximum effort that they're playing with to characterize it well, and well enough, as we should with our jobs. They've got Boston tomorrow. No Jason Tatum, it seems like. Probably no Jaylen Brown. I looked this up, and over the last 5 years, they're 4-3 without those two in the same game. Like, it just doesn't happen. Like, Tatum really doesn't miss games. Brown is pretty reliable in being out there. So that's just like a shrug. Like, I don't know, that Boston can easily beat them without those two. Like, Boston's still the Celtics. At Minnesota on Friday, home against the Rockets, who have turned around their season. Like, they were awesome for 40 games, kind of meh for 20, and now they're doing the end of the season thing they did last year. They're at in Phoenix on Sunday, and then back to play the Bucks again. That is going to be on Tuesday, a week from today. So then after that, that's 4 games, and then there are 6 remaining after that. So that'll be a big week of like, okay, where are Sacramento, Dallas, Portland, San Antonio at? Can we finally rule out San Antonio? Is Portland still in it? How's Dallas looked with AD back? And then of course, like, where are the Suns at there? Like, can they split these two? Can they go 2-2 over these 4? If they do, they're in a very powerful position. But if they go 1-3 or 0-4, we're back to being I don't know.
There's so many there's so many variables in the league right now. I don't know if you're in a fantasy basketball league like I am right now, but like, I have Walker Kessler getting rest. Got to rest those Utah Jazz players. I have Quentin Grimes, who's, by the way, has been awesome for the Sixers lately. He just happened to rest yesterday because Marcus Bagley needed time fresh off of 10-day contract signing. That's ASU Marcus Bagley, not Marvin.
I was ready to correct you.
No, he played for the Sixers yesterday because Quentin Grimes needed to rest. Anyway, I'm not complaining about fantasy basketball at all, but what I'm saying is there's a lot of weird stuff that can happen, good or bad, to help the Suns. Like, yeah, missing Brown and Tatum tomorrow, probably, possibly. Like that's a stroke of luck. So I don't want to predict things, but that's why you're playing at this point because anything can happen.
To your point, to kind of simplify it, it feels like the management of player injury management of players or rest management of players has reached an all-time high this year, but in a very like undercover, like as quiet as possible sort of way. I think I brought it up on the podcast, but when Svi Mikhailuk had maybe the worst 9 minutes of basketball I've ever seen, when the Suns were playing Utah, and Lowry Markkanen and Colin Sexton just sat on the bench until like there were 6 minutes left, and they were at 24 minutes played. I was like, oh,
They've
and that was like 2 months ago. Like,
and they've been fined. They weren't they
and
fined like
now, yeah, now they're getting fined, and it's like this kind of thing where I can't remember what team it was, but there was another team that played their guys. I can't remember the team now, but they played their guys at this Toronto. They like played their guys, and then Scotty Barnes just didn't play in the fourth quarter. It's getting crazy right now.
But
It would not be fun to be on a tanking team right now.
but your boy Porter got banned from the league for his eye hurting and betting on sports, but we're allowed to sit Scotty Bar. I guess I shouldn't compare those things. That's pretty bad.
Longtime
But
listeners of the pod will remember my boy Jonte. Oh, I believed so much, and then he turned into a legend for very different reasons. Very different reasons. All right, Cats talk time. I don't think I've said it the last couple of times, but Kevin and I, U of A grads, our favorite team in the world is the U of A Wildcats, where we can kind of be fans because we're operating here in Phoenix. We cover Arizona, but when Kevin and I are writing, it is very much from like we are watching the team and we're vehemently interested and have our rooting interests aligned that way, where we're not really professionally covering them too often. The one time that I did, I wrote just like a typical game story, and then I wrote a Cooper Flag story. Too, when I went down there this year. Speaking of those guys,
oh yeah, you were there,
yeah, that is who Arizona will play. So I want to start because I ended the pod last week talking about how I think Tommy Lloyd should be fired if they don't get out of the first weekend. Staying on that hill, baby. Trey Townsend, I think they beat Akron anyway, but he was great against Akron. Anthony Del Orso had a key stretch at the start of the second half against Oregon. And then Toby Awaka was one of their three best players against Oregon. Yeah. And I thought he being Lloyd or whoever makes their rotation decisions on their staff, the group of minds behind it, made the right decision. And like Toby played great. But then they needed Vesar on offense. Like, while Jalen Rose and the whole broadcast thought like Awaka was hurt, it's like, well, no, because Vesar can like set good screens. He dives really quickly. He's a lob threat around the rim, more mobile defensively. Like, it's just crunch time of the game. That's the guy that they probably need out there right now. But I thought that it was a really good mix of a lot of things in the Oregon game. I did not think they were going to beat Oregon because of how slow they play. But they kind of lulled them into a trap, I guess. Like, it was the one of the best things that could have happened is how down they were early because Oregon played fast, and then they kept playing quicker, and that allowed Arizona to kind of control and dictate like the pace of the game. That's something they highlighted on the broadcast right away. Jaden Bradley, like his best game of the year, maybe, just with how he played in the first half. Obviously, Caleb was awesome. But for Caleb, it's just whether the shots are going in or not to determine that. For most people, I think that he's mostly great pretty much every night he's out there. When he shoots them out of games, I understand he's playing poorly, but outside of that, I think he's great. Baffling KJ Lewis game, but he has those. And they're on to play Duke.
So a large section of Arizona's fan base, from what I've seen, thinks this is a different Arizona team than when they played Duke. They did have Krivas was in that game. He was battling some injury that ultimately ended his season because he just needed to get it right. So yeah, the rotation's like fleshed out. They know their roles now. Do you actually think that this Arizona team's different? Because I don't, but I also don't think Arizona necessarily looked bad despite the final score of that game. Do you agree or not?
I think they were a different team because with Krivas, they were still running high-low. They were still trying to salvage that, and they've pretty much abandoned it. They run it every now and then Trey Townsend gets the pass and then pump fakes and then gets blocked at the rim, and then they never do it again for the rest of the game. Um, so I think they're different in that way. I looked at the box score and was just kind of playing it through in my head and like how little Carter Bryant was on the floor and just the way their offense was running, how Caleb was used in that game. Um, it's a different team, and Duke is different as well. From what I've read, they've been playing faster. They kind of played slow in that game, and they played faster. But Duke will just go back to playing slow because they're smart and they know what they're doing. Shire is really impressed me in both games they've played the last 2 years. The one in Duke as well, I thought he had a really good game plan, but so did Arizona, and I think it's why they won that game. I do think that they're different. I think Arizona's going to win. I did not pick them to beat Oregon, but I think they're going to beat Duke. I think that a good portion of it has to do with Juju. Like, I'm just going to sit here and be totally honest. Like, it's on-court stuff that I'm thinking about for sure. But there's something in the air here, Kev. The last time, let me know if this sounds familiar, Duke playing the best ball of anyone in the country, number 1 seed, number 1 overall pick on their team. They got all these great players around him as well. And then they run into like this scrappy 4 or 5 seed. What were they in the 2011 game? They were a 5, I want to say.
That's a good question. Yeah, I think they were one of those.
I have the highlights right in front of me. They were a 5. So they were 1 seed off in that game. But no, like to go back to the game, if Carter Bryant starts, that will be a good indication for me of how seriously to take the game. If he doesn't start, I'll feel bad. Like seriously, because no one is equipped to guard Cooper Flagg in the starting 5. Like no one. It's not even like close. They might think Townsend can guard him, and that would be a horrific mistake. He cannot. Even if they start like KJ's way too small. And Flagg doesn't play like that anyway. It's not like they like run their offense through him or whatever, but you look at their guards, none of their guards scare me at all. And I think like KJ, Bradley, and Caleb, who's a really good defender, will handle their guards relatively well. And then Malawak will get tested heavily, I think, just by Awaka's size and then also his strength, but then also just Vesar's versatility and how he's moving around the court. So like from a personnel perspective, they match up super well. And then it's just going to come down to offensively what looks they're getting out of Caleb getting trapped. And that's something they're going to be prepping for all week and they have to be ready for. And that is another reason to play Carter Bryant because he's a very good passer and he's a decent shooter. Like on the second side, would I rather have Trey Townsend or Carter Bryant? I would rather have Carter Bryant, who is also like the best defender on the team by 3 miles. So I think that all of those factors go into it. And I also just think that Duke will undeniably come in with some confidence because they beat them in McHale. And they're going to be told all week that this is not the same team that they played. But I don't think they're going to believe it until they get on the court because it is not the same team that they played at all. That team had zero confidence. That Arizona team had no idea what they are. This team at least knows what it is. Now, do they play like what they are? Not all the time, but they did in these 2 games at least. So they're 2 for 2 so far.
And going back in the Big 12 tournament, I'd say that's a good point. Like Caleb was trying to find his balance of like helping his teammates versus scoring. He's found a really good balance lately and is playing a lot differently than he did then. I would say on the Carter Bryant front, yeah, if you can't get down like you did against Oregon and beat that team, obviously, and I'm afraid that Cooper Flagg would just do that, and whether he's scoring or not, and just kill him, and then they're going to be playing catch up once Carter Bryant enters the game. But if Carter Bryant's starting, I actually think from the personnel perspective, they looked like a more physical and athletic team than Duke, straight up, like in that first game. So I'm not worried about the rest of them. If Carter Bryant wants to be a lottery pick, if he has one good game against Cooper Flagg, that's going to do it. And so I think that's, separate, but it's huge stakes there for him personally because I think he's probably a top 20 pick already. And then from there, yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about KJ Lewis, Bradley getting downhill on that Duke team necessarily. Like they're going to have to deal with the size and the athleticism of Flag and Maluach, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. So I think they're capable. And yeah, it's like Caleb Love has to have a good game. Carter Bryant has to be also awesome, but that's not super out of the realm of possibility. And then from there, I think it's totally even. But yeah, I worry about the keeping up with their offense. Like Tyrese Proctor has been, I think he's literally shot like 13 of 16 the first 2 tournament games from 3. Like that's 80% something.
Yeah, he's a Suns guy for sure. He's a guy to keep an eye on with that end of the first round pick. I don't think he's going to make it to the end of the second anymore. That's where I kind of had him in my head when I wrote about it in that story, but he's already like those 2 kinds of games in March. You have those when you're on Duke. You're not going late second round anymore. I think it's a very simple game, and I think that it's just going to be, does either team burn itself enough with either turnovers or just missed threes? I'm not familiar off the top of my head. I'm going to go look right now in terms of like how good of a shooting team Duke is. I know from a personnel perspective, like Proctor, obviously, and then Kneppel obviously is a guy that's going to go in the lottery, and it has a lot to do with like his scoring ability and his shooting ability. So on the year, Cooper's at 36, Kneppel is at 39. 42 for Proctor. Sion James is at 40, and those are like their 4 leading scorers. Isaiah Evans, the guy who plays sparingly, who I like as a draft guy as well, is at 42. James only took 68, so it's mainly been Evans off the bench, Mason Gillis, the former Purdue guy, off the bench, and then Flag, Kneppel, and Proctor are their 3-point shooters. So they have a decisive edge here in terms of 3-point shooting. Del Orso is the only good shooter on the team. Like that's it. I think Bryant's their second good shooter, but again, is he going to play? Is he going to get out there? But it's one of those games where if Arizona has like 5 turnovers, not even 5, like if they have 4 turnovers in the first 10 minutes and they're 1 of 7 from 3, and Duke hits like 4 of 6 to start the game, it could be a 10-15 point game by then, and then it's over.
Yeah.
It's going to take Arizona getting back into it, which they can. But they will, like I think they would, but it's like they can get back in the game. Can they win the game from there? That's where they've really, really struggled this year. So like that sort of like wave of turnovers and missed threes where it's like you're hurting yourself. And then I don't know how you do this in your head sometimes, but whenever I see someone get back cut or like give up an offensive rebound, I count it as a turnover in my head sometimes. So like those types of things as well. Like Carter has to play anyway, because when Cooper Flag is doing annoying energy guy stuff, it's like, brother, you're the number 1 pick. Calm down. You don't have to try so hard. Like we get it. You're doing all the stuff while you're a star player, whatever. Carter will get a body on him everywhere. Like Carter will go into that. He'll do his little meditation at half court, and then he'll just be stuck on him the entire game. Like he should be on Mikal duty. He should mirror him. Like as soon as Cooper gets up from the bench, if he even sits in this game,
Coach
Carter
doesn't have to tell you, yeah.
at the scorer's table. Yeah, he shouldn't even have to tell you. That's a really good way of putting it. So that's what I want to see. And like that legitimately, like Carter is, and having him to like not allow Flag to do that will do really well. I haven't gone back and watched the game, but I'm curious to see how Carter did back then. He was such a different player than like 3 months ago. Like he had no confidence at all. He didn't even know what he was as a college basketball player. Cause I came in, I was like, oh, like secondary scorer. And I was like, oh no, you're just one of the best perimeter defenders in basketball, and you do energy guy stuff. Okay.
Do you feel confident he will start?
No, not at all.
All right. The game might be that simple, unfortunately, too. But I think there's a chance, but I don't know if I feel like a good chance. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate to simplify it like that, but because it's something that we talk about being annoyed about from our perspective with the Suns. But yeah,
this is different,
I'm unsure.
Man. To me, it's different. It's your most talented NBA prospect doesn't play enough. Like, and he's like a smart kid. Good. Yeah.
Well, he does everything you need. And like, that's like, it's similar to like Dunn not playing in some ways, I guess. But you might even need to like, I'm thinking it's like with the Caleb traps, they have not handled the Caleb traps well at all. Like he's done okay with them, I think. He's done way better than he should, to be clear, as a two guard. He is not a point guard, but he's had to be a point guard this year. But like even starting Baysar just because of the short roll stuff or just the shooting, having him like take 3 or 4 threes in this game would be the worst thing in the world, honestly, with how much they're going to trap Caleb. Because that's the thing is like, that's like, we haven't even talked about the Caleb Duke thing, but if Caleb hits his first like 2 or 3 shots, like he's going to score 40 in this game. Like he's going to go absolutely, he'll take 40 shots. I don't know if he'll score 40, but he'll just go absolutely nuts. And like, that's the other part of the juju is like players look at playing Duke a certain way. I'll put it that way. Like the Did Duke Win? That website, you remember? There's like that element of it, but I think Caleb, like when I see him play against them, he just legitimately looks at it like, you guys think you're this, but you're actually this. Like he turns it into a personal thing without it being personal at all. And that like unlocks another level of like edge to him. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think he's going to be awesome in this game. I just have this feeling that he's going to be really, really great. And I have a feeling that leading the team with all of the factors we talked about is going to be why they win. And again, like this has just been a rivalry that has been, it's the 0-1 Natty where Jason Williams fouls him, like Luke Walton gets hurt a week before. Agent Zero, our boy, hurts his shoulder. So we just like that's a great what if in their history back in 0-1. And then the Sweet 16 matchup, like those are the 2 meetings in the tourney. And then there's the clips that I posted, the Garden matchup in 2013. Shout out Rashid Suleiman. Remember that guy? Rodney Hood, Jabari Parker. Remember that team? Ooh. And
I
then
don't
the meeting
remember what happened in those games, but
we kicked their ass. Yeah. That was the TJ Brandon Ashley year. That was the best U of A team that I've seen.
and then that was the year Brandon Ashley got hurt or something, or was that the next year?
That was the Aaron Gordon year, yeah, when he got hurt. Aaron was in that game too, yeah.
Fun. Okay.
When Gabe York was a fun heat check guy on the bench before he became like a little like
The G League superstar, yeah.
Yeah, it took on a life of its own. It was fun. It was like, what if Elliot Pitts is doing this stuff and can jump like has a 45-inch vertical?
Elliot Pitts. Oh.
Yeah. Shout out Jordan Mace, man. People forget.
Mm-hmm. Daniel Bejarano.
I have like a really like pleasing thought that like someone just like left this on for like 26 minutes in the other room, not knowing what Cats Talk is, and they're like, did I subscribe to another Did I subscribe to another podcast? But why are Kellen and Kevin still talking? I don't understand.
Congrats to Mike Bibby and Josh Pastner, since we're in Cats Talk, for getting jobs.
I'm so locked on Duke, I don't even know who's on the other side of this bracket. I have no idea. I'm looking right now. BYU, Alabama. Oh, we could get the BYU rematch. That's what I picked in my bracket. I picked BYU over Bama. Great win for Kevin Young to stick on the Suns tangent for a brief second before we go.
Yeah.
Awesome win for him. That was a thing where you watched them not only in the Big 12 tournament, but like a little earlier, especially in that Arizona game. It was like, oh, he's got the kids doing what he wants. Like he's got a style of play.
They went into McHale, just shot lights out. They have NBA caliber players. Yeah. That team's fun. Like I didn't know why they lost so many games, I guess. And then now they're kind of proving like, oh, they're just finding themselves. They're fun.
It was, yeah, like I have every tournament or two, I have a team where like they have a clear identity, a clear style of play that they just play all the time, no matter what. And it just wins them games because they do that. Like the Abilene Christian team from like 4 years ago that defended like maniacs was an all-time favorite team for me. And then I just realized a month ago, I was like, oh, that's BYU. Like that's this team. So then I picked them to make the Final Four because like that usually does really well in the tournament. St. Peter's was the one where it's like they played such beautiful basketball when they went on their run. So yeah, we'll see if that's Arizona. I guess that would be, I would love that. I would like consider, is it a home game on Sunday? Yeah. I was like, can I go to that game on Saturday if that's there? Like I did think about going Thursday. It came in my head as soon as the game ended. I was like, no, opening day. I want to be at opening day. So
Fair.
Well, it's been very fun. I'll put it that way. It's been great to It's
Two
been
good basketball teams, Kellen.
Yeah.
Two.
Yeah, like I even want to go as far as like thanking this year's team just for meeting the expectations, but then also just providing us like even if Duke wins by 20, it's just been really fun. Like I haven't cared about a game like this since probably the Wisconsin Elite Eight, like just in general in sports for me. It's been like a decade. I
Yeah,
can't wait.
it'll be good.
Yeah,
Anything else?
I'm just worried. I'm going to be sitting in the Diamond Express box at opening day when this game is going on, and I think I'm just going to have to back out to the cafeteria and just watch the D-backs on the TV in there. It's just because I'll be too much of a distraction to everyone. Even like, yeah, I'll be silent and I'll still be like fidgeting, like, get up the floor. All right, man. We'll be back next week, like we talked about there. That break. They play on Tuesday, and then they don't play again until Friday. So like that Wednesday, Thursday, we'll drop another episode. And like we said, it's either going to be the Suns in like a pretty comfortable position to be in the play-in, which I think is where they're at right now, or it'll be like, okay, let's see what happens in the last 6 games. So we'll see. We'll be back next time. That's next week. See you then.